Welcome back, guys. Mel here from Mel's Motors. Another Aprilia video. If you missed the videos from before, there'll be some links below. We prepped this bike for track. Still a track bike. We're going back to Seville in 4 weeks' time. It's 1st of Feb today. As it happens, 1st of Feb 2025. 30 years I've had my business. It's a celebratory day today. We did loads of upgrades, rear sets, suspension, a few other bits and pieces. We did some sprockets and other bits. That's in the previous video. Today, got loads more stuff to do, like loads. Stick around and we'll see what we're going to do. Right, I have a plethora of bits here to go on the bike. I'm not the only one working on my bike today. You met Steve before, he's doing his GSXR750. Got Frank over there, he's working on his Fireblade. And me, I'm working on my little baby Aprilia. In one of our previous videos, talked about exhaust, said I wasn't going to spend a fortune on exhaust, but as these bikes have become popular, price of exhaust have come down, so I've got a full system to go on there. Christmas came and went, and Merry Christmas bought me a load of bits and pieces. We've got all this to go on the bike today. So got chain adjusters to go on there, and they've put chain adjuster on there so we don't forget what they do. Got a shark fin, that's to protect your feet in case you come off, you don't get your feet trapped in the rear sprocket. Got a new chain guard to go on there, a new sprocket, that's a race sprocket, it's a one tooth down. And the last video we did is replaced the rear sprocket which I bought because it was a road bike. That went down a side which overgeared the bike. So we're going to change that one tooth lower at the front to try and get it back to where we were before. This thing here, in the last couple of videos I kept promising I was going to show you what this does and I kept forgetting to fit it to the bike. That's for the gear selector. I'll show you what it does later. Because we've got no mirrors on there, got some mirror caps. I've got two on there, one says RS660, one says Aprilia. The reason I've got two is because to have ordered one would have cost me shipping. To order two would have been free shipping. So in theory I got buy one get one free. Aluminium lever guards. I've got this liquid here, it's called No Cool. You dilute the cooling system by 5% and apparently it reduces the running temperature by about 15 degrees. Do a lot of Spanish track days, it does get quite warm out there and so does the bike. Changing the rear pegs to red to kind of break the bike up from black. This is a breather control block, so we're going to put that on there. Bike's got no steering damper, so I've got a steering damper to go on there. Friend Steve, over Christmas, because it was my birthday around that time, bought me a race box to go on. I've got some spare clip-ons. The clip-ons on this bike are different to most, because most clip-ons, they clamp, and these screw from the end. These are a bit of a bugger to get, but I've got them spare. God forbid you come off on track, you need some levers, but the standard ones won't fit. Last track day we did in Seville, when I started my bike up, sounding horrendous. The chain is rattling its heart out. I will show you that later, but I've got a chain tensioner to go on there, service bits to go on, and also got to do valve clearances and a few other bits and pieces. So bike's on the ramp, ready to go. We're going to start with fuel tank, airbox off, go to do the valve clearances, start with the hard job first. But before we do that, I'll get it down, we'll run it up and you can hear this rattling sound. Okay, let's fire it up. Yeah, doesn't sound very pleasant. As the bike warms up and the oil gets a bit thinner, that sounds horrendous every time I start it. I did one on the Chino about 2 months ago. It's not the nicest of jobs, but it wasn't terrible. It's better than a V4. It's a bit easier to get to because you can get to the tensioner from the outside of the engine, where on the RSV4s you've got to get it from inside the engine. But we're doing the valve clearance check, so we're going to be in that area anyway. Okay, let's get the tank off. Okay, this is how far we've got. We've exposed the throttle body, cam cover. So, we need to get the throttle body off because it is in our way. And coming off the back of it here, it goes to the charcoal canister, which is part of the emissions control. But because we're using this for track, we're going to get rid of that, eliminate it, and we'll do a bypass on it. To take these throttle bodies off, there's a couple of clips down here. They're just spring clips, you just pop them off, they come out. But to get those clips back on, absolute nightmare. I actually had to make a special tool to get those back on, but I'll show you that later on. What we need to do is get to this cam cover, so we can get the coil packs out. So there's a few bits and pieces to remove. Right, as part of this charcoal canister, we've got these two pipes here. Just taking the clip off it, so that's ready to come off. We're going to undo the little clips for the injectors, get those out of the way, and then we've got obviously the throttle body that needs to be unplugged as well. Be very careful with these fuel lines. If you break it, it's going to cost you a fortune. I mentioned it before on the RSV4 video. I don't know if you guys saw that, but because it's got 8 injectors on those, 4 port injected and then 4 on top of the airbox, those pipes are super expensive and super brittle. Over time, there's a good chance you'll break it. So we're not taking these off today, but we need to get the throttle body off. There's a hose extension that goes to the fuel tanks. I've taken that off just so it doesn't catch somewhere when we're removing it. If you wish to follow these videos, remember it's not a tutorial. If you wish to use it as such, then if things go wrong, I'm afraid it's on your head. So these are the clips that come off. They are really springy, so once they're off, they're absolute pig to get back on. So you need to get a tool down there to clip these on, so you can see that to this. Well, I don't want any dirt to go into these holes, so I've got these caps. Just going to push those in. Just protects the engine from dirt and debris. Right, I've got all this wiring out the way. There's a couple of wires, one plugged down there, one around the top, which you have to feed through the frame. This hose, although it looks like it's in the way, you can just about work around it. Tensioner on this is buried down here, so it's actually a double bolt. So you've got one end cap that comes off, and then you stick another socket in there and undo the other one. This run of cables is in the way. It's really hard to get a socket on there, and these are really tight. The last time I did one, I undid this screw here and the one up here, and it just gave me enough room to get a socket in there. Cam cover, 4 bolts. We're going to get those off after I've undone this run. You can see there's a lot of space there to work. Now, people say this is half a V4 engine, but not quite. It looks like half a V4, but it certainly isn't. It is a new engine. On the V4, the the chain isn't on that side, it's on this side for the front cylinders. People say it's the front two cylinders of a V4 and the back's been chopped out, but it doesn't look like it to me anyway. So to get to that, you can get to it from the other side as well. You can just about see it there. Once one of the cables are out the way, this one here, you can just about get an Allen key socket on there and get those off. I will need to drain a little bit of the coolant out so we can top it up with that Mocool stuff. And I'll probably end up taking, these fairings are a pig to get off. There's so many screws, they're all random sizes as well. Because we need to do the exhaust. You can see it's buried there, so the radiator's in the way, so we may even have to take the radiator out to give us a bit more access. I need to get to the oil filter and the drain plug. So it looks like we're going to be taking the side covers off. I probably won't video that, I'll just get them off. It's going to be a boring video to see me taking out 50 screws and trying to get the front off there. So because we need to be there anyway, it looks like I'm chopping through jobs going from one to the other, but it just makes everything accessible all in one go, and then you can start doing stuff around it. Okay, got a fully naked bike. The lower fairing, both sides are off, they're down there out the way. This is the overflow bottle, so we need to drain this out. We don't need to drain this because it's got a little loop line that comes to the cap, so usually pop this cap off, put it out of the way, take this off, just drop it back in, and it just creates a loop that stays as it is, because nothing wrong with that water. It's got plenty of coolant in it. This side we have the water pump. I believe this screw here is the drain screw for this. There should be a copper washer behind that, so you take that out, put a bucket under there because we want to save the water, and then we'll fill it back up. But this is the lowest point, but in the radiator this is the lowest point, so we're only going to drain probably to this line, so there'll still be coolant left in that rad, but we need the rad out because we need to get to the headers. So I'll get a bucket, we'll drain that. Once you've taken that screw out under the bucket, then you've got to come and release the radiator cap so that you release the pressure in there. There is no pressure, but there will be pressure, well, a negative pressure once you start draining it, so it's going to try and create a vacuum in there, and the cap will hold all the water in, so we'll need to release that. Okay, let's go find the tub, and then I'll come back and we'll drain that out. So there we have our coolant draining now. Release the cap. Right, it's going to release the hoses from the radiator. Okay, so we've got full access to the exhaust system here. So another thing we're going to do whilst we're here is we've got this breather system which goes to the airbox, and when the revs drop on this, there's some reed valves in there which draws air, clean air into the exhaust to burn some of the unburnt fuels. You can end up losing a little bit of pressure, especially back pressure. So we've got a blanking kit which we're going to fit to that, which is what I showed you here in our table of treasures. And then once that's been taken out, we can get rid of this plumbing. We're going to keep the solenoid in place so the bike still thinks it's there, and then we're going to come around this side and remove the hose that goes to the airbox as well. We just need the blanket off. So that's going to be one of the other jobs we do. But we have got an oil breather which is here, Some of them are on the cam covers, but this one's lower down, so the oil breather is not affected. This is just a breather for the exhaust system, so we'll blank that out. Also here, because we're using it on track, we don't want this dipstick to come out, so you can drill small holes in these, get some baling wire and wrap it around here, but I don't want to do that because it makes it difficult for us to top up if we need to. So I'm going to drill a bigger hole in there and just throw a cable tie around it, and it's easier at track to cut a cable tie, top it up, put a cable tie in it and carry on again instead of faffing about with wires. The oil filter, I'm going to be using a race filter. It's no different to a regular filter, it's just on the back of a race filter. We have this hex nut. Working one-handed isn't easy. We have this hole in the top where we can put baling wire in there, and it just stops the oil filter from unwinding. I did see on Obsession Engineering's videos that he put a Jubilee clip on here, which was probably a better idea than this one, because you've got to stick a lot of wire on there and try and find somewhere to put it on. So I'll see how that fares. If we can put a lock wire in there and go somewhere sensible, I will. Otherwise I might steal his idea and put a Jubilee clip on there, and then put some baling wire on there to stop it from undoing. Okay, so I'm getting distracted from the job we were going to be doing, which is tensioner, do valve clearances. It's probably the hardest job on here to do, so I'm going to start with that. Once I'm happy with that, we'll stick the new tensioner in there, finish that job off, unless the valve clearance needs to be done, and then that escalates the workload. And then we'll work backwards from here. We'll start at the top and work our way down the exhaust system. Okay, so the two breather pipes that went to the solenoid are both off, so they can go. So that hose not being over the cam cover has made life easier for us. So I'm going to get the cam cover off now, and then we'll proceed with checking the valve clearances. Okay, so the valve clearances on this, on the intake side is 0.1 to 0.15, on the exhaust side is 0.1 to 0.2. So let's try this first. Okay, that's good. So I've got these two valves already up, and the exhaust is up on that side, so I can check that side as well. So that's the minimum, going to go to the maximum. Right, thankfully those two are good. Now I've got some engine protective covers on this side. I don't want to take them off. There is a cap you can take off to stick a socket on there so you can turn the engine over, but it's a bit pointless to do that. You can just stick it in gear, up to 6th gear, and you can just use the back wheel to turn the engine forwards. Okay, all good. They're slightly on the large side, which I prefer, because with motorcycles, as they rev so high, the valves tend to bed themselves into the cylinder head, so the gaps get smaller. So having them on the high end is fine, because over time they'll actually get smaller. So I'm happy that I've done a stripping on that, so it's kind of saved me a good hour and a half of doing valve clearances. So what I'm going to do now is do the tensioner, cap this back up, and then we can move on to the next job. Okay, so I've got this tiny bit ratchet which just fits into the top part, which is 6mm. Well, that's a first. The whole thing undid. It's supposed to come in two bits, but it came as a whole. Inside you can see there's an 8mm hex, so once the top cap comes off you stick an 8mm hex in there and then you undo the rest. But this has actually worked out really well for me. I'm just going to grab a magnet. Okay, there's a tensioner. Don't throw it away, there's a little rubber gasket on the back. We're going to reuse that with the other one. Okay, so there's a new one. Rubber gasket goes on top. Okay, I do need to separate this because I need this first half to go in first. Once it's in, holding the back end of the tensioner, because this tensioner is released and this one isn't. So this needs to be on with this hole open, and then we can stick like a small screwdriver in there. And then we need to knock this for it to release. And then it will release and hold itself on the back end of this nut. So I'm going to go stick an 8mm Allen key in there and then see if I can separate both of them. Right, separated. Got a snap-on 8mm Allen key. The snap-on ones have quite a long shank, which is enough to get it in, and also stick a ratchet spanner on there, and it's just enough to do it up. Because it's so tight in there, you can't get a ratchet in there. And also you can't get a torque wrench in there, so you just got to tighten it up tight. If the engine was on the floor, you're doing work on it, you can torque it because you've got the room, but you can't torque it whilst it's in there. There's just no room. There's a wiring loop which I have to keep pushing out the way, and just about get this in. Okay, so we need to bring it down now, so I'm going to try and get a screwdriver in there just so I can just release that tensioner. So from the top you can see where the tensioner is. If I go down quite low, you can see that you can't get an extension bar or a socket down there to be able to torque it up. So it's quite an awkward place. I've got a torque screwdriver here, so I'm going to stick that in the hole and I'm just going to whack it for it to release the spring. That's it. Okay, so that's released. Now I can put the cap on and tighten it back up. Okay, so moving over to the exhaust headers and this plate. I've put some lube on there to release those off. O2 sensors, we need them for the new exhaust, so I've just freed them off. If we free them off here whilst it's still attached, you've got something to work against. If you do it on the floor, then it's going to be more of a battle. So I'm going to start taking this one off. Make sure you keep them left and right, because the cable lengths may be slightly different, or they might give some different information. So left and right. Okay, exhaust is off, gaskets are out. I've got some new gaskets to go in, and we can see the vents, they go into the exhaust here. Now that the exhaust is out the way, I'll probably just do a quick oil and filter change while we're there, because it's clear, and then we'll start fitting the new exhaust system on it. It's a bit wet, there's some condensation from the roof. It was very, very cold today. These are the new gaskets and the fitting kit. Okay, oil filter's on. I've bailed it all the way back here. There was a hole, so I've done that. I didn't have a spare sun plug other than the Allen key one, so I couldn't bail that up, but it's pretty tight. Cleaned the front of the engine down. It was really, really dirty, but I've got no oil leaks, so it must have just been road grime, but I've cleaned all that up. Used carb cleaner, which is quite potent, and it's come up quite nice now. So I'm ready now to, I'll get rid of this oil and start putting the exhaust on. Right, ready to fit the exhaust and the gaskets. These gaskets, they just drop out. Let's see if they don't fall it. They just keep falling out. So I put some grease on there that holds it in place. These studs were a bit rusty, so I put ceramic grease on there, so when the nuts go back on, it will kind of clean itself. Right, fit the exhaust on the other side. This is one of the rear footrest brackets from the other side. I've cut the footrest off because I need a bracket for that exhaust. I've painted it, and since it's on a hook, I've just got it drying. Whilst that's drying, I'm going to get the back wheel off. We're going to put the chain adjusters on there, replace the front sprocket, and put the new front sprocket guard on. So, we'll leave this to dry. Got my mate Frank here helping me out as well. He is here.
Ain't you?
I helped him with his bike. He's helping with my bike. Okay. Okay, I don't need the wheel out. I just need it loose enough so I can get that sprocket and then get these tensioners. Okay, so these have come with their own bolts, so that they're bolted directly to the swing arm. I'm not going to Loctite them, but I am going to put some ceramic grease on there so it doesn't seize into the aluminium. These are really nice. They've got ratchets built into the end, so you know how many clicks you're turning. See that? So standard 17 down to a 16. Right, this had red Loctite on it. Be careful using too much red Loctite because it will seize the bolt in there. So I'm just putting a small drop on there. Right, whilst we're still on this side, I'm going to put the shark fin in. Purpose of this is if God forbid you come off and your foot gets trapped underneath here, it's designed so that it kicks your foot out of the way from the sprocket so you don't get trapped in there. So it's a safety item. To be fair, I've never had it on any of my track bikes, but when you hear horror stories, it's better to have it than not to have it. So the bracket has got to go on first. I've just marked it under there with the pen. Got an angle drill, so I'm going to drill it and stick some riv nuts in there. And once they're in, that will give us our thread to bolt this to the swinging arm. So you can see where I've put the riv nuts in there. So the bracket will go on, which goes on the other way around. So the bracket will go on, and then the shark fin will bolt onto it. I am going to use red Loctite for this because I do not want this to come out. Well guys, now it's day 3. I started this job on Saturday, came in on Sunday, Frank helped out yesterday. Now it's Monday, it's a working day, so most of the day's been taken up with doing work stuff. Right, time to get back onto the bike, see where we got to. Chain adjuster done, shark fin done. I changed the pegs off camera, guards on. The original guard kind of hoses cables out the way, so I've had to cable tie this to the back. And the hose, this hose here, used to hook in through that as well and goes to the tank, so I've had to reroute that around the back. I've cable tied that out the way on the back here, just behind the stand. I've teased you on a couple of videos now on this bike about this part. I keep forgetting to fit it, and then I'm tripping over the damn thing. It's there, there's a bearing in there. What it does, it stabilizes this shaft for smoother and more accurate gear changes. I mean, this bike's still new; it's only 3.5 years old. But what happens is when you doing your gear changes, although you've got rotational movement, as you push forward and backwards, you get lateral movement on the shaft, and the shaft wears out inside the casing or in the bush, and then you get sloppy gear changes. So what this does is it extends out further with a bearing, and it gives you more precise gear changes. As you can tell from the theme here, we're colour-wise, we came for red and black. Bike originally comes with a red front wheel and a black rear wheel, hence we're trying to liven this bike up with a bit more red and black throughout the bike there. So going to fit this. It's been machined to fit into its threaded hole up here, and then there's a small grub screw at the bottom there, which we'll have to undo first before we get it in, and that just keeps it tight onto the outer sleeve there. So I'm going to fit that. On the other side, for the exhaust, I used the footrest peg for the exhaust hanger, but it comes so far back that this clamp was way back here, which looked pretty awful. And to be fair, it looks awful just being on there. But I do want to hold it in place. Just, I don't know how much vibration we're going to get out of that, and I don't want it to break down here or further down. So having it stabilised, well, it's my preference anyway. So this goes back. I painted it black. I cut the foot peg off, and I don't like it. So I had a quick look on eBay to see if we could get a bracket. An Akrapovic one is like £95, and that's ridiculous, not paying £95. You know, we're a garage and an engineering shop, so I had some alley plate, I guillotined it, cut the centre out, and there we go, made it for free. So I've got a heat lamp going there. I'm just warming up the paint. I've just finished painting it. I've cut it and designed that so it comes and sits where the clamp is now. One, it'll keep the logo in place, because when that warms up there's a good chance it might come off because it's only stuck on. I suppose we could put a couple of rivets in that, and that keep it in place, but it is an aluminium sticker, but it's so cold that it wasn't sticking very well. Right, that foot peg's done as well. Exhaust is on, O2 sensors are on. My only little concern is this link pipe here, because it just slides in. When these pipes were on the floor, they'd slid in quite sloppy, and I'm just not sure if it's going to blow from there. If I put the radiator back in and it blows, then I'm going to take the radiator back out and all the fairing to weld it around there. And I'm half tempted to weld it whilst we're there, but I can't start the bike, got no fuel tank on it. So I'm going to play that by ear. Right, next thing is put that gear linkage bracket on. Okay, so that's been fitted now, and hopefully it will do an amazing job. The bolt here was Allen key, but I found that it was starting to chew up, so I've changed it to an 8mm head. To be fair, if I need to adjust it, it's a lot easier to get a socket on there than it is to faff about with an Allen key head. Right, next task, I think I'm probably going to do the steering damper, because whilst everything is off here, I've got pretty good access to it. I'll probably move this out the way as well. It's just one bolt, swing that out the way. These brake lines have been an absolute pain in the backside when I was doing my track days, because my paddock stand goes right in the bottom of this headstock, and every time I try and get it out, these hoses are in the way. with this out of the way, I think it'll make life a bit easier, and it'll give me half a chance to get the steering damper in there. And if I need to adjust it, I may be able to adjust it from the bottom as opposed to trying to fight from the top. So I'm going to take this trim off, and then I might be able to cable tie these hoses out the way slightly, because this part of the suspension doesn't move up and down, it's the lower part that goes in and out. So if I can tie this out the way, I should be able to get my paddock stand in there a lot easier. Right, let's remove this. Right guys, we're going to call it a day there, otherwise this video is going to get long and boring. Stick around for the next one.